Welcome back to Kleppers Corner. Today in the news. It's August 23rd, 2025. And folks, the planet is once again screaming, I need therapy. But instead of Prozac, we're prescribing political raids, famine, corruption arrests, stray dog rulings, and Jerome Powell whispering sweet nothings into Wall Street's ear like Barry White for bankers. Buckle up. Today's stories are a ride that makes Space Mountain look like the DMV. Segment 1, Justice Under Scrutiny. The FBI raids John Bolton. Ah, yes, nothing screams healthy democracy like raiding the house of your critics. The FBI stormed the home and office of John Bolton, you know, the man whose mustache could hide a family of 4 and still have room for a Costco membership card. Now, officially, this is about classified documents, which apparently means anything that mildly embarrasses Donald Trump. Remember, they tried this back in 2020 with Bolton's book, The Room Where It Happened. And what happened was Bolton cashed his advance check, bought more mustache combs, and kept trashing Trump on cable news. But here's the fun twist. The FBI director is Kash Patel, a loyal Trump ally. And he's got history beef with Bolton. So this isn't just law enforcement, this is a soap opera. It's like Law and Order Petty Grievance Unit. And how do we know it's political? Because the FBI director and the attorney general live tweeted the raid like it was the Super Bowl. Kash Patel tweeted, "No one is above the law," which is hilarious coming from a guy whose job exists because Trump acts like he's above the law. Pam Bondi chimed in with, "Justice will be pursued always." Honestly, this sounds less like law enforcement, more like Marvel's new flop, the Justice Avengers Mustache Wars. Trump, of course, denied knowing anything about the raid, then immediately called Bolton a sleazebag and compared it to when his own house got raided, which, by the way, is not the defense you think it is. It's like saying, I'm innocent, just like when they found me standing over the body with the knife. The bigger problem here isn't Bolton's mustache files. It's that America's justice system looks less like Lady Justice and more like that Monopoly man yelling, do not pass go, do not collect $200 unless you're friends with the president. Segment 2, Global Flashpoints, Gaza, famine declared. Moving from D.C. drama to humanitarian tragedy, the UN officially declared famine in northern Gaza. That's phase 5 catastrophe on their hunger scale, which is basically the Hunger Games minus Jennifer Lawrence shooting arrows. 500,000 people are facing imminent starvation. Kids are dying, aid is blocked, and the international community is doing what it does best, issuing strongly worded statements nobody reads. Israel dismissed the famine declaration as misinformation, which is like telling someone drowning in the pool, you're not wet, you're just experiencing alternative moisture. The problem here is we've reached a point where facts themselves are up for debate. The UN says famine, Israel says fake news. Meanwhile, families in Gaza are eating weeds, and the rest of the world is stuck in a kindergarten fight over whether the crayon drawing is a cat or a dog, while the house is literally on fire. This is what happens when diplomacy breaks down into narrative warfare. Instead of solving the crisis, the argument becomes, does the crisis even exist? Which means more kids starve while politicians tweet. Humanity, ladies and gentlemen. We can 3D print organs, but can't agree that starving kids need food. Segment 3, Sri Lanka's accountability test. Ex-president arrested. Sri Lanka, on the other hand, decided to shake things up. Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, the man famous for both stabilizing the economy and allegedly using $50,000 in taxpayer money to attend his wife's PhD graduation in London, was arrested for corruption. Yes, you heard that right. The first former president in Sri Lanka's history to be arrested. And not for war crimes, not for decades of corruption, not for crashing the economy into the Indian Ocean like a drunk tuk-tuk driver, but for an expensive family vacation disguised as state business. Honestly, if this works, every politician's spouse in the world is in trouble. Imagine if U.S. presidents had to justify their travel expenses. Yes, Mr. Trump, can you explain the $4 million golf trip in Scotland? Did it advance national security or just your handicap? Supporters of Wickremesinghe say it's political revenge. Maybe, but Sri Lankans who watched their economy implode in 2022 are buying sympathy for a guy expensing business class tickets to Heathrow. Sometimes accountability is messy, but it beats impunity. Segment 4, the Powell pivot, Wall Street's sugar high. Meanwhile, Jerome Powell dropped the 3 sexiest words in economics: interest rate cut. At Jackson Hole, Powell hinted the Fed might finally ease up because the job market looks shaky. And just like that, Wall Street threw a rave. The Dow shot up 900 points. The Nasdaq soared. Traders hugged each other like it was V-Day in Times Square. Markets went wild, home builders rallied, airlines popped, cruise ships, literal floating petri dishes saw their stocks jump because apparently cheap credit makes us forget about norovirus. But here's the catch. Inflation isn't dead. Lower rates mean more spending, which could mean more inflation, which could mean Powell is basically pouring Red Bull into the economy while saying, don't worry, we'll all nap later. And here's the kicker. Connorsville, Indiana is still broke. Their mayor is begging for lumber money to fix a bridge while Wall Street is drunk on Powell's dovish beats. The disconnect between Wall Street's sugar high and Main Street's hangover is so wide you could drive Elon Musk's ego through it twice. Segment 5, India's stray dogs and diplomacy. And then India, because why settle for one crisis when you can multitask? First, the Supreme Court reversed its own stray dog ruling. Instead of locking up every stray pup, they now want a trap, neuter, vaccinate, release policy. Basically, the dogs get fixed, jabbed, and sent back to their neighborhoods like furry parolees. It's humane, sure, but it also sounds like Tinder for strays. Swipe right if you've been neutered, vaccinated, and still have a place under the chai stand. Meanwhile, India's foreign policy is juggling flaming swords. On one hand, cozy talks with China's Wang Yi to calm border tensions. On the other, a big defense deal with France to co-build jet engines. It's the geopolitical equivalent of telling your spouse, don't worry, honey, I'm just grabbing coffee with my ex, but also, I'm buying a Ferrari with my new sugar daddy. India's strategy? Keep your enemies close, your allies closer, and your dogs sterilized. Segment 6, the Global Roundup. AI, bees, sports, and more. Other headlines? Oh, you bet. OpenAI launched GPT-5. Apparently, it's like talking to a PhD expert on anything, which means soon your toaster will be more qualified than Congress. Anthropic expanded Claude's memory to 1 million tokens, meaning it can read War and Peace and still remember what you asked it, which is already better than my uncle after 2 beers. Science gave us a breakthrough bee diet that grows colonies 15 times bigger, which is great until we realize bees with better nutrition might unionize. We demand better hives or we sting Jerome Powell. Sports. Mumbai replaces Bengaluru for the Women's ODI World Cup final. And in cricket gossip, Kader Janhav says the India-Pakistan Asia Cup match won't even happen, which is bold considering in India-Pakistan cricket, the pre-match drama is the match. And North Korea condemned U.S.-South Korea drills again. Somewhere, Kim Jong-un is stomping his foot saying, I told you guys to stop playing war in my yard. The world today is a masterclass in contradictions. Justice that looks like revenge, famine denied, accountability demanded, and economies partying while towns beg. If you're confused, don't worry, that's the correct response. And that's today's Kleppers Corner.